All right, hopefully everyone got that notice. I want to just let you all know that we were thrilled when we checked the registrations earlier today to see that people are joining from more than 10 countries around the world. As a local, like very Toronto-based group, this is so exciting for us. And so yeah, really welcome to everyone wherever you're joining around the world. And thank you so much for being with us here. We don't usually hold online events, but this is really exciting that because of doing it in this format, you can join from wherever you are. Next, I'm thrilled to bring up Sydney, who is going to give us a little bit of an introduction to what even is this project, what was the call to imaginings, why we're all here tonight.
Great, thanks, Rachel. So the idea for this project came about at the start of this year. And at that point, we as Mission had been organizing within the pandemic for about a year, and there was no sign of things easing up. And also at that point, we were gearing up for the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada, or PDAC, convention. And each March, the world's largest mining convention, hosted by PDAC, comes to Toronto's Metro Convention Center. And each year, Mission and our allies intervene and disrupt the gathering in some way. So in 2021, PDAC announced that it would be hosting the convention online. But just because the Metro Convention Center was empty didn't mean that mining had stopped. Mining project continued in full force, and workers continued to travel to remote mine sites around the world, risking the health and safety of local communities. A virtual PDAC meant that we had to rethink our tactics and how we could effectively disrupt the convention. At the same time, it allowed us to think beyond PDAC, outside of mining industry timelines, and beyond reactionary activism. It allowed us to think, what if the Metro Toronto Convention Center was empty every year? And what if the world's largest mining convention never happened again? So we put out this call for imaginings in the spring, and we received so many creative and unique responses. Some artists submitted textile work and collages, imagining a new world out of pieces of the old, reusing and reworking waste. And others submitted songs and drawings, creating beautiful renderings of worlds made up of something entirely their own. This project of collective imagining began to grow. But of course, people have long imagined and fought for a world without extractivism and the systems of violence and oppression that sustain it. So we turn to those who make art as and for protest and who endeavor to live worlds they dream of. We learn from Afrofuturism and Indigenous land defenders across Turtle Island and around the world. This project is contributing to and building on that labor. So we can't wait to share art, music, and other presentations with you tonight, to put these pieces into conversation with one another and start a discussion, what we hope will be the first of many, about what a world would look like without extractive industries that exploit people and land. So thank you so much for joining us today in this long overdue celebration. And I'll pass it back to Rachel to get things started and introduce our first presenter.
Thanks so much, Sydney. We, like every time we got a new email art submission in the Mission inbox, we were all just like squealing. We didn't know if anyone would actually answer. So the fact that so many of you did respond to our call out and just sent us these incredibly heart-filling pieces of art, like I just can't emphasize enough how much you made our year. And so we're so excited that everyone is here tonight, and we're so excited with all of the submissions we got. And it was so hard to pick just a few to showcase tonight. But anyways, without further ado, I'm thrilled to introduce Kelly Rose Flugback, who was the very first submission that we got, and we were thrilled to get it, and we're thrilled to have her start off tonight. Kelly is just such a talented organizer, activist, artist, also poet. She recently published an incredible poetry collection. So continue to check out her work after tonight. Kelly, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for putting this on and for having me and everything. So I am going to be showing you today the textiles I make out of recycled fabrics. I work with like recycled natural fabrics, so cotton, linen, wool, hemp. These are things that biodegrade back into the earth. These used to be the majority of what we wore and used as, you know, bedding and sails for boats and any kind of fabrics that we have in our lives. And now the majority of like our clothing and everything is actually plastic fiber, which is, you know, one of the hugest sources of pollution. We don't often think of clothes as being something that's part of extractivism, but it is, because, you know, extractivism has really like permeated all aspects of our lives. So to me also, like, this it's not just a practice of like reducing waste or of consumer reform. It's a process of like changing our worldviews. So this is one of the things that I've made recently. This is like a pair of mittens that are made from felted wool. They have Luna moths on them. Felted wool is one of the fibers that I use the most often because it's one of the most often discarded. And it's also one of the most precious things you can have in a cold climate. It's comparable to fur in terms of like how warm it is. A lined felted wool thing can keep you warm in like -40 temperatures. And then here's the beginnings of a children's jacket that I'm making with a barn owl and a moon and some stars. And this is all also out of discarded wool. So to me, like, yeah, doing these things reminds me that not too long ago, before the advent of like polyester and everything, clothing was something that connected us to the land that we live on. It connected us to past and future generations because the clothes that we made were so durable, they would last multiple generations, right? So, you know, making something like a quilt, a blanket, or a winter coat, you would do that thinking of people who were not yet born yet. And when you inherited something, you would do that, you know, remembering like ancestors thinking of you before you were born. So it gave us like this really huge sense of continuity that it's like we don't really have anymore, or at least has been really severely assaulted, like from all angles by, you know, this like consumerist, extractive sort of like way of life that we are forced into. Let me see. And yeah, so basically just also, I guess how I got into this, part of it is because I inherited clothing that came from my great grandmother. So that's like 2 generations ago, but she was an expert tailor. So things that she made were still wearable. And I would wear, you know, a coat that she made when I was 13, and that was my winter coat. And it was still keeping me warm long after her death. Aside from that, she was also a German anti-fascist. She was a non-Jewish woman who made a choice to join a guerrilla cell and be a spy to try and defeat the Nazis. And she knew that doing that, she was risking, you know, torture and death. And she eventually lost her partner, who was tortured and executed by the Gestapo. So for me also, it's like when we like when our everyday items are no longer these like disposable consumer items, all of them are infused with more meaning. They also, you know, they like remind us of our responsibilities, right? Because we too will die one day. So what are we going to leave behind, right? So I think of the items that I make, and those remind me of my responsibility to choose right action over complacence when it comes to any matter of injustice, because, you know, we should be thinking as well of the example that we're leaving behind for future generations, regardless of whether you have biological children, right? Someone is going to be remembering you and remembering your actions. Yeah, and I think I'm at time now. Thanks for listening.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kelly. So much to think about with what you've said and what you've shared. And yeah, the reminder that looking forward is so much about looking back and drawing on our roots as much as it is looking towards future generations. So thank you so much for getting us started. Next, I'm really excited to bring up Emma Wright, a MISSN member, and she's going to be sharing both poetry and some visual arts with us. So without further ado, welcome, Emma.
Thanks so much, Rachel. And yeah, it's really an honor and pleasure to be here with everyone today. And I just wanted to quickly thank all of the organizers and friends who have put so much time and energy into creating this gathering in the college. It really is inspirational, I think, to everyone. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen here. And I think how it's going to work, and correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, but this part will be live translated, and then I'm going to read 2 poems, and I'm going to read in English and in Spanish, so that part won't be live translated in the same way. So I'm just going to speak to the image, the art that's on the screen right now briefly, and then read the poems that connect to the idea. So this piece for me speaks to honoring and the interconnections and relationship in all life, so elements and different life forms. But at the top, there is the sky and air, at the bottom, water, to my right, trees, and to my left, earth, soil. And then there's images that speak to the interconnections or the points of merger between those two. So water and land, or sky and trees, and then the center being how kind of the human experience or human existence connects with all of that. So just kind of brief where it came from, but I'm sure others may get something else from it. So now I'm going to read two poems. One I submitted with this call, and another I actually just wrote a few weeks ago that I thought would be nice to share here as well. So I'll read first in English and then in Spanish. So the first is titled Wet Moss. Licking the current, toying with the rush, swirling in unexpected concentric joy. A green so lush it sinks deep into the skin, recalling other times past, and times to come, times that allow for slippery, wet, bubbling breath to grip for hours onto what is otherwise unholdable. When all you know is rock, and water, and movement, yet your being evokes too much to contain in words. Just the feeling, not of touch, but of joining your delicious glow. Tasting, swallowing, until we are subsumed by the ecstasy of life. We never imagined it was possible, yet here we are. I'm just going to switch to Spanish, and thank you to Kirsten for translating these. This is my first time reading them in Spanish, so we're enjoying this moment together. Musgo mojado, lamiendo la corriente, jugando con el ímpetu, arremolinando la inesperada alegría concéntrica, un verde tan exuberante que se hunde en la piel, recordando otros tiempos, tiempos pasados, tiempos por venir, tiempos que permiten un aliento resbaladizo, húmedo y burbujeante para agarrarse durante horas a lo que de otro modo sería inasumible. Cuando todo lo que conoces son piedras y agua y movimiento. Sin embargo, tu ser evoca demasiado para contenerlo en palabras. Solo la sensación, no táctil, sino de unirse a su delicioso resplandor, degustando, tragando, hasta que seamos subsumidos por el éxtasis de la vida. Nunca imaginamos que fuera posible, y sin embargo, aquí estamos. And I'm going to read the second in English first. Dancing in the woods. Beat, a cascading crescendo, sullied through the decay, echoes through these dense confines. Awaken unkept promises, awaken soiled toes. A whiplash through time, backwards, forwards, landing somewhere in between. In all this gruely, grimy mess, we find peace, we find joy. We live beyond constraints, because to live is to change. Our tendrils will connect, are connected underground, our branches slowly seeking that which is already present. We are rooted, held strong. This presence appears as weakness to those who live otherwise, but when their time to decay enters full bloom, they will wither and be lost on the breeze. While our main edifice, deep underground, is still tucked in tight, reaching through, past their ruin. What we create now will determine the ebb and flow of our collective journey. Creation is the most powerful form of resistance. And I'll just switch over to Spanish. Bailando en el bosque, latido, creciendo en cascada, manseado a través de la decadencia, ecos a través de estos densos confines, promesas incumplidas despiertas, dedos de los pies manchados despiertos, un latigazo a través del tiempo, hacia atrás, hacia adelante, aterrizando en algún punto intermedio. En todo este desorden sucio y mugriente encontramos la paz, encontramos la alegría. Vivimos más allá de las limitaciones porque vivir es cambiar. Nuestros zarcillos se conectan bajo tierra. Nuestras ramas buscan lentamente lo que ya está presente. Estamos arraigados, nos mantenemos fuertes. Esta presencia aparece como una debilidad para los que viven de otra manera. Pero cuando su tiempo de decadencia entre en pleno apogeo, se marchitará y se perderá en la risa. Mientras que nuestro edificio principal, en las profundidades del subsuelo, sigue metido en su interior, más allá de su ruina. Lo que creemos ahora determinará el flujo y reflujo de nuestro viaje colectivo. La creación es la forma más poderosa de resistencia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emma. Yeah, what powerful poems. And I think it's so often through poetry that we can even sort of begin to imagine that which currently isn't, but that we want. And I think we'll have a few poems here tonight. And I think you got us started on this theme in such a powerful way. And yeah, thank you so much for that. Also, thank you to our superstar interpreter, who is not only live interpreting this event, Kirsten, who works at Mining Watch. She also quick translated a whole bunch of poems for us. This is above and beyond, and we're so grateful. Thank you, Kirsten. Next, I'm really excited to bring up Sam Ponting to share some music with us. Sam is, another member of Messin, but has a long history of organizing all different types around Toronto. And we're so thrilled that she's going to be performing live on her guitar for us tonight. Welcome, Sam.
Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, I'm really, really excited to participate in this event. So I'm going to be singing a song. I wrote this song when I was on a hike in British Columbia, and there was a trail closed, and I looked into the forest, and the forest was all black and gray. It had been affected by a forest fire, and it was quite a harrowing kind of experience. And so this is a song that tries to connect forest fires with climate change and with the extraction industry. And it imagines a world where we really fought with fire in our bellies and were able to taste victory and succeed in this fight. And it also contemplates the role of First Nations and of Indigenous peoples in the fight against ecological destruction, and the importance of following their leadership with Indigenous peoples often being on the front lines of resistance to extraction projects all around the world and here in Canada. So yeah, the song is called Firesong. Listen to the stories of the earth keepers, 'cause at some point there's no going back, going back, going back. To the liars, there's no heat from a blaze, but the fires are making their way through the trees. Hollowed out. So we listen to the stories of the earth keepers, 'cause at some point there was no going back, going back, going back. So we listen to the stories of the earth keepers, 'cause at some point there was no going back, by the lovers of life and home and earth, of air and clean water, and the oil was left in the ground, and the women took the bankers down, and the first here showed the way, and the first here showed the way, and the first here showed the way, and the first here showed the way. So we listen to the stories of the earth keepers, 'cause at some point there was no going back, going back, going back. So we listen to the stories of the earth keepers, 'cause at some point there was no going back, going back, going back. As the earth got warmer, we let the fires, as the earth got warmer, we let the fires burn. As the earth got warmer, let the fires burn in our blood, so we could stop that madness. Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much. I was just watching people's faces as they were watching, and everyone was so with you in that song. So thank you so much. It's hard to perform on Zoom. We super appreciate it. Next, I'm really excited to bring up Gabriella Jimenez. She is just an incredible organizer at Kairos and is involved in some incredible projects. And specifically, the Mir Hub is just such a cool resource for women land defenders around the world that I know Missin really admires. And anyways, we're thrilled to bring Gabriella up here to talk about that and share the art that was submitted for our call for imaginings. Welcome, Gabriella.
Thank you, Rachel, and good afternoon, good evening, and I found out earlier today, good morning to all here. I would like to thank Mining and Justice Solidarity Network for the invitation, for bringing us all together today, and for their continued commitment to highlighting the harms of Canada-made mining injustice. I'm joining this virtual event from the Dish with One Spoon territory. I'm also in settler-dominant Toronto, which additionally serves as a crossroads for those who have had to relocate here, either forcibly or voluntarily. As Indigenous territory and transnational colonial capital of finance, the Dish with One Spoon territory / Toronto is a contested space that brings to the fore land conflicts, the friction that emanates from the incompatible understandings of what constitutes a good life. Women land defenders are central to the protection of territories and to an expansive and generous notion of life that encapsulates human and non-human life, past, present, and future, and to whom we are indebted for creating space to imagine what a world without extractivism might look like. In the following ruminations, I'm attempting to honor women land defenders through the artwork that Kairos commissioned from Sofia Acosta Varea, an Ecuadorian visual artist and activist who is also known as La Suerte. I am going to share my screen. And I also want to say that we will be, or I will be, my ruminations today specifically focus on the illustration on the left. So this grain illustration here. So carrying a bag full of lively plants, she or they trudge on as the ripple around her hints of of movement and unstilled determination captured by her gaze. They are chest deep in a body of water so dark, so murky, so contaminated that it reflects the stars and other celestial bodies that guide and illuminate them on their journey. Are they crossing a river? Are they evacuating after a flood that was caused either by torrential rain, a tailings dam spill, or both? Are they escaping their territory in the middle of the night after having received death threats for their local efforts to protect land and water? They didn't consent to the Canada-owned mining project imposed on their community, but still the project was given the go-ahead, and now they are here. They knew this, the flood, the spill, the escape would eventually happen. They tried to warn others in spite of the dangers, but few listened. Most thought they were a noisy nuisance. You know she knew this would happen because the items in her backpack suggest forethought, resourcefulness, and creativity. The items she carries also indicate a knowledge of what constitutes the conditions for a good life. The side-eye is a snarky and fleeting act that expresses exasperation. She is tired and unimpressed, but no less committed. The gaze, the side-eye, is also a calculating stare. She stares beyond the frame towards an unknown entity or situation. Is she looking forward, behind, or next to her? Wherever, she cannot stop observing, analyzing, strategizing. Studying changes wrought to her community by the mega project and the criminalization efforts against her for her conclusions have made her all the more discerning. She trudges along, but doesn't travel alone. She is accompanied by her friends, colleagues, and neighbors, who together create a way to carry on. We cannot see them, but in the confidence of the land defender, we understand that others are with her just beyond the frame. In 2019, Kairos launched Mother Earth and Resource Extraction, Women Defending Land and Water, or Mayor Hub for short, a digital hub on the gendered impacts of resource extraction. Mayor Hub was created in consultation with and for women land and water defenders. It brings together original and existing information, materials, and resources to highlight, support, and advocate for the work women are doing caring for Mother Earth. I invite you to visit Mayor Hub at mayorhub.ca. It is constantly being updated, so if there's something that you think should be added, please get in touch with me. The illustrations and logo for Mayor Hub visually capture what the project is all about. Women land defenders who not only imagine, but also live a world beyond the violence of extractivism. And they, women land water protectors, know that Mother Earth will prevail. I will make sure to add the artist's Instagram account to the chat so you can check out some of their other work. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Gabriella. That was such a beautiful way of taking us into that illustration and speculating about that world we're imagining. I really appreciate it. And we all love Sophia's artwork and are so thrilled that we get to share it as well. Next, I'm going to be bringing up Julia De Silva. Don't know if I've ever been to a pipeline protest in Toronto that Julia hasn't been at and has been helping with. So she's just someone we admire, and we were thrilled that she shared a poem with us in response to our call for imaginings. Welcome, Julia. We can't wait to hear it.
Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. I'm actually speaking from unceded Musqueam territory right now, in what is also known as Vancouver. And in this poem, I was thinking about work and what kind of what a post-extractive relations of work and relations to work might look like as kind of life-giving. The immediate inspiration for it came, I was like working in a kitchen at the time that I was writing this, and there was like one day I was with several coworkers and we were processing a whole bunch of blood oranges, and we had them like all laid out on this table, and they're this like really beautiful fruit. And I started thinking, like, what would this moment look like in a world where all of this wasn't like directed towards like making profit for a company? So that brings me to our hands will also be stained this way. The coming world will be blood oranges. The work to be done will spread before us in orbs of orange gold, and we will hold each one, wonder, will it zest sunflower or red? Someone will ask whether it is exposure to sunlight that varies the blood concentration of their color, and another will answer no, they ripen in winter. They need warm days followed by cool nights, and a steep divergence between the two flushes them deep. We will nod and watch the juice squeeze into the tray. They all bleed red. That's how it will be in the world to come. Our work, everything that draws our veins closer to the surface, will return our lifeblood to us, sweeter. On the first day of the soft apocalypse, the sun that warms the orange trees will tap our shoulders and say, the rote games are over. You can do now the work you were meant to do. Walking over the bright rubble, we will trip and catch each other's hands, and that winter in the kitchen, flecked with every shade of sunrise, we will realize just how jeweled the harvest was. Someone will hold one out, peeled, and another will exclaim, it's just like a gemstone or a dragon's egg, and just like that, we will slip into our process like elbows and shining eyes around a fragment of dock and a fresh floating story and a kitchen table. We will arrange a pyramid like a ruby dragon's nest, except there will be no dragon hoard, no stained diamonds, only the attention that even now lets segments of the coming world dribble through the cracks in the mines, seawater, citrus. This is the coming world. It will be living, pulsing gold. It will be the work before us. It will be sentences popping, fire on a cold night. It will be here, and it will be blood, oranges. Thank you.
Wow, the coming world will be blood oranges. I will never look at that fruit the same way, and that's such a captivating poem. Thank you so much, Julia, for sharing it. I look forward to rereading it. It's hard to just move on to the next, but I know we have so many powerful things to share tonight, and I want to keep us moving along. Next, I'm really excited to bring up Andy, who's from an incredible resistance movement and frontline struggle in Australia. So I'll let him explain it all. So Andy from FLAC, please welcome. We can't wait to hear from you and to see more about your work.
Hi, everybody. Good morning from here in Australia. I'm coming to you from Berry Country in Queensland, Australia. It's a bit quiet here at Camp Binbee because most of our FLAC action in this part of the world is happening further west on Wangan and Jagalingou country, where traditional owners of that land are resisting the Adani mine. So that's what we at Frontline Action on Coal have been doing for the last 4 years. Amongst a few other things, we're trying to stop the Adani mine, Carmichael coal mine in this country, using direct action. And it's great to be part of this global network of people resisting mining. And so I was very excited to have the opportunity to contribute to this call out for creative imaginings and get to share that the experience and the learnings of trying to stop mining and stop extractivism with you all. So we made a little video. For me, I think the act of protest itself is a creative act, and so is the act of living in community, which is what we do here on the front lines. You know, we're always trying to create solutions or better ideas of doing things. And so in this video that we made, we tried to bring out the ways that FLAC, in doing what we do in our everyday existence, living together and resisting coal mines, how that helps to bring into imagination a better world, a world without extractivism. So I hope somebody else is going to share the video now, and hope you enjoy it.
Yes, we are. We'll get that up in a sec.
Australia is a country ravaged by socially and environmentally destructive resource extraction, and Australians continue to pay the price, from devastating fire seasons to formerly 1 in 100-year floods occurring with increasing frequency. Here in Queensland, corporations like Adani are attempting to continue this destruction, chasing profits by selling deadly coal that cooks the planet, sucks up precious and limited water, and destroys ancestral lands. At Frontline Action on Coal, we have spent the last 9 years taking direct action to stop the construction of new coal mines in Australia. In that time, thousands of people have passed through our camps to stop a fossil fuel industry intent on destroying our planet. And all the while, we've been trying to imagine a way of living beyond destruction, where we see the earth as more than just resources to be ripped out and sold no matter the cost. We try to live in a way that is sustainable for the earth and ourselves, using solar energy, growing food, supporting local farmers, minimizing consumption, and living cooperatively. Here at Camp Bimby, this 100-acre plot of land was once cleared of trees and grazed as a cattle and pig farm. Since then, we've been regenerating the land, planting native vegetation, encouraging wildlife, and returning the land to something that sustains all species. At this camp and in this campaign, we've seen people explore new skills and new parts of themselves, learning to work consensually in large groups, cook and grow food, climb tree sits, speak to news cameras, and put their bodies on the line. All the work here over these years has been done for love and passion against tremendous adversity because we know it's right. It can be hard and demanding work, but it is also full of friendship and discovery, working towards a society we believe is possible. A society where all people can live up to their potential, where we care for the earth and future generations, and where we see our planet and our lives as more than just raw material to be extracted and sold. And we can always do with a hand, so we invite you to join us on the front lines to put an end to coal mining and imagine a better future.
Thank you so much. Andy, was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, that's it. Good work, everybody. It's so amazing seeing everybody else's creative works, and so many more to come. So thanks for inviting us to be a part of it too.
Thank you. I mean, it's such a, I think that just by our nature, we can help but be looking at current struggles as part of what our vision of the future is. These are not separate times and separate things. We are building the world that we are going to win, and we are building our visions, and to just be able, I mean, not just to see what you're doing, but you guys have such gorgeous art and photos and videos of what you're doing, and we just watch them in awe and take so much inspiration from all of you. So please pass that on to all your comrades there. And it's hard to show videos on Zoom, so we will share like links and stuff to watch these videos later, and they'll be included on our website as well, which we'll announce at the end so folks can see it, maybe without some of the bits that were hard to see. All right, next, I'm really excited to bring up Alana Bartol, who will be sharing, I don't even want to give it away, such an interesting art project that the second Miss and heard about it, we just kind of gasped like, wow, what an idea. How could there be something more fitting with this theme that we've imagined? So I can't wait to bring Alana to the stage to talk about her project.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here and honored, and it's really just so inspirational to gather with other people and see what everyone is doing. So I'm just going to share my screen here. Okay, so I'm a visual artist, and I'm speaking with you today from the territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, the Piikani, the Kainai, as well as the Tsuut'ina Nation and the Stoney Nakoda First Nations and Métis Nation Region 3. And I'm in the Treaty 7 region of what is colonially known as Alberta. I moved here 6 years ago, and since moving here, I wanted to really try and address resource extraction in my artwork. It's also a very polarizing issue here in the province that has, a lot of wealth has been created from this industry. A lot of people don't want to discuss the topic. It's really difficult. So trying to find art as a way to open up a space to have conversations about this. So the piece that I'm going to talk about is called Orphan Well Adoption Agency. So it's an artwork that takes the form of a fictional not-for-profit agency, and it was founded in 2017 by me. And it's dedicated to finding symbolic caretakers for orphan wells across so-called Alberta. And for those that don't know what it is, an orphan well is an oil or gas well, but it could also be a pipeline or a facility that does not have a legally responsible and or financially viable party to deal with its decommissioning and reclamation. So these sites just sit on the land. They can contaminate land, water, air, and life with remediation efforts that could last up to a decade or possibly longer. And as the oil and gas industry, thankfully, is enduring rocky times, the orphanage is steadily growing. So I'm thinking about, end of life for this industry. It's, there's a lot to deal with. These sites are left on the land, and a lot of people are not really connected to the issue or aren't even really aware of it. So as of September 1st, there's over 3,000 orphan sites for decommissioning and over 5,000 for reclamation. So the Orphan Well Adoption Agency is not to be confused with the Orphan Well Association, which is a not-for-profit association funded by the oil and gas industry that manages the abandonment of oil and gas orphan well sites in Alberta. So unlike the Orphan Well Association, the Orphan Well Adoption Agency extends the definition of orphan wells to include the 97,000 inactive and 71,000 abandoned wells in Alberta that are in need of reclamation. So this number is much higher than those wells that are deemed orphan wells, because these sites are still under the responsibility of their company caretaker. So there's no time limits on how long a well can sit dormant. So it's cheaper for companies to just keep the sites and not have to look at what it would take to actually clean them up. So there's so many problems with how the industry is regulated, and there's so many different aspects to the project. But what you're seeing are some of the images of sites that I've gone out to. I've gone out to at least over 70 sites at this point across the province, and they all look very different. And you can really see the damage to the landscape. They're often on or located in farmers' fields, and there's just such a huge range of legal issues that come with these sites, not to mention the social, economic, and cultural issues as well. So with this project, the Orphan Well Adoption Association employs unconventional approaches to environmental remediation that examine care, empathy, and the reliability of information. So one aspect of the project is that I create pop-up offices for the agency across Alberta, and then I hire people and train them to work for the organization. I pay them through art grants that have funded the project, and they invite the public to come in, and you can sit with an agency representative and apply to adopt an orphan well. So to date, we've adopted over 100 Alberta orphan wells. And once you adopt a well, you get a certificate of adoption with the name and location of an actual orphan well site. You also get a postcard of an orphan well. It may not be the well you adopted. And then you also have the option to correspond with your well through letter writing. So your well will write you a letter. And the letters, I mean, all the wells are very different. So they all have kind of different predicaments that they communicate. Some people write back to their well. So I have some very long ongoing exchanges, which is pretty amazing, from like 7-year-old children to, adults that write letters. And this is one of the letters. So I just wanted to read a little bit of it before I end here. So this is from Orphan 1301-001 20W4, aka Thirsty Bird in Cardston County. Still ground, small rumbles below, 1,000 feet of vibrations. I had a leak, but I can't feel it anymore. Do I poison the soil below? No trespassing allowed. I'm under remediation. Phantom rumblings shake my hollow bones. Concrete will seal me off forever. A hidden gravestone underground. Downhole, down, down, down. I'm mostly gone, yet part of me remains. When will earth fill my hollow veins? I'm having a hard time keeping track of the days. It's been so long since I've worked. I don't know a year from a day. I used to move the earth, and now the earth moves me. So that's a little aspect of the project. And if you're interested in learning more, you can go to orphanwelladoptionagency.com. And that's sort of the face of the organization. There's nothing saying it's an art project, so that's very intentional. And what I found is that I've actually had people from the oil and gas industry contacting me about the project. And I also learned there was like an investigation into what this project was by the Alberta Energy Regulator. So it's yeah, interesting to see who engages with the project. There's also, I just wanted to plug, there's a documentary coming out this fall. It's going to be on CBC, and it's created by a local film production studio, Kino Sum Productions, and it's called Orphaned. It's written and directed by Gillian McKercher, and it's going to explore orphan and gas well cleanup in the prairies. So check it out. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Elena. We're just such big fans of this project. And I mean, I think it's hard to get a better endorsement of the work that you're doing and its value than to realize that you're being investigated by an energy or a mining commission. So congratulations on that. Keep up the good work and the investigations. But yeah, I would really encourage folks to check out more on this work. I was just so drawn into, for me especially, I guess as a parent to a young kid, the letters from kids to these wells is just such a whole level of future thinking that I hadn't gone to. And we as Mission talk about remediation of mines or the lack thereof all the time. And my mind had never gotten close to this level of really connecting with these wells. And so anyways, I'm seeing people in the chat saying that it's brilliant and the coolest idea. We couldn't agree more. Thanks for sharing it, Elena. Next, I'm so excited to bring up Stephanie Boyd, really longtime friend and co-collaborator with Missin. She's just this incredible documentary filmmaker who, I'm not even going to list her films. They're all incredible. They come to Hot Docs basically every year, and you'd be silly to miss them. But specifically, congratulations to her that her recent film, And That Is How the Rivers Came to Be, just won the prize for Best Animated Film at the Montreal First Peoples Festival a few weeks ago. So congratulations to Stephanie, and thanks so much for making the time to be with us today and talk about your projects and your work in the Amazon in Peru.
Thank you, Rachel. Can you hear me? Great. So beneath the waters in Peru's Amazon rivers lies a hidden world of spirits known as the Carwada, which means people of the river in the Cucama's indigenous language. But these sacred creatures are threatened by oil spills, illegal mining, and other modern threats. Our collective of Peruvian and indigenous journalists and filmmakers is working on a multimedia project to support the Cucama struggle to save their rivers. This includes short animations, short films, a feature-length documentary, a webpage, and this book that is already out and that Rachel helped us present at the World Social Forum in Montreal in 2016, that has stories and pictures drawn by children in villages along Cucama villages along the river. So now Rachel's going to show us a short 50-second segment of one of the animations that we showed at Hot Docs in 2019 that was made by the indigenous and Peruvian artists.
Indiusu, Aki, Raquara, Rausu, Zumunu, 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 Rapura Rapucaraua, Razapchicura, Razanucatura, Ragaraquara, Razapchicura Amaua, Kurunani. Indius Riuti, Ipuriwa, Ara Uwakana, Ipur. Primara, Zumulur, Zumat.
Yeah. Thanks, Rachel. So that is how the rivers came to be. And now if Rachel could share the screen with me, I will show you a PowerPoint. Here we go, of some of the children's drawings and the project page that's on our webpage. I'll put the webpage link in the chat after my presentation so that you can see more information and see some of the short videos and see how it's involved, how we're linking this with activist campaigns in Peru. Basically, 7 years ago, Leonardo Tello, a Cucama journalist and writer, asked my partner Miguel Arauz and I to make animations about his people's stories in the river. It's grown into a big participatory project with Cucama artists, leaders, filmmakers. We've done art workshops with children, with painters. We've done film training with the radio station. They're now making their own short films, and they've documented several oil spills in their territory since we started in 2015. And that documentation is being used to pressure some of the, there's a Canadian oil company known as PetroTal based in Calgary that actually police that were policing their grounds in August of 2020 assassinated 3 Cucama people who were part of a large peaceful protest against the company's, the repeated oil spills. And this hasn't come out in the press yet because of the pandemic, but the Cucama journalists were able to document it, and they're working on some sort of legal response that we can't really talk about right now. But there will be more about that forthcoming. And all of this pretty artistic work is being used as evidence in a groundbreaking lawsuit that was filed last week in a Peruvian court to have the Marañón River declared a legal person. So this is part of a large international movement that the Cucama indigenous leaders are working on with international rivers, with Peruvian human rights group called IDLA, the Institute for Legal Defense in Lima. With us, we're part of the collective. And there are other indigenous groups around the world that are also now starting to ask in their own home countries to have their rivers declared legal people. And that is sort of one of the ways that they can work towards seeing a world free of extractivism, because if their rivers are recognized as legal people, then their rivers have the right to flow. The rivers have the right to live without contamination, free from contamination. There's a whole series of 7 or 8 different rights that the rivers will have if this lawsuit is accepted and won in the Peruvian courts. So we are going to be having a press conference on September 28th, the virtual one, at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to launch this case. It'll be broadcast from the jungle in the Amazon if our connections work properly with the internet. And I'll put our Facebook page in the chat now so you can see it. You'll be able to see it live. You'll have it on the Institute for Legal Defense's Facebook page. We'll have the announcement on our Facebook. So if you want to get involved in this, just by passing the link around, you don't have to spend a lot of time. Just share the link, get more people involved. It really does help pressure the Peruvian judges. They really act when they know that people around the world are watching this and paying attention. And we'll have a petition later on that you can sign. We're going to be following this case. It'll take a few years to work its way through the Peruvian court. We're going to start small on September 28th with the spider in the web and start, I'm thinking in Spanish, tejiendo. We'll start creating that spider web effect. So I want to reach out to all of you now and ask you to please get involved in our journey down the Marañón River. So click like on our Facebook page if you can, and to help us have the rights of the rivers in the Amazon and around the world recognized. Thank you. Merci. Gracias and utsapaki.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Your work is just phenomenal, and to see just the different layers of art that are coming out of the land defense that you're part of, to see the ways that folks are able to use these colonial court systems, but in ways that actually uphold their millennial old understanding of the river and the people of the river and the spirits in the river. And like, it's so creative to see how can we use these institutions and as a way of upholding our visions of the world. Anyways, I should have mentioned this earlier, but everyone who's spoken tonight and who has shared sort of some links and some calls to action, if you send them to us by email, we'll send them out to everyone who is here tonight in a follow-up email so that everyone who's jotting down notes can get it in their inbox after and can click on those petitions and check out all these websites. So next, I'm going to call up Joe Jefferson. Joe and James Sandham collaborated on a project that came out of the Call for Imaginings that was nothing that we would have imagined would have come, but also I think was nothing that they might have imagined would have come out of where that project started. So I'm excited to bring up Joe to talk about it and to show it to us.
Thanks, Rachel. Hi, everyone. I am thrilled to be part of this whole event and the collection of amazing work that is coming to life here. When I sat down to think about what I wanted to submit, I had Holly Near's Mountain Song in my head for some reason. And I also was thinking about families I met in San Marcos in Guatemala who are resisting the marlin mine. And also thinking about my own kids and how to kind of talk to them about these giant, awful issues without just putting a big cloud over everyone's head. So I wrote what I thought was a poem, and then it turned into a kid's story, I think. And then I shared it with James, thinking, hey, would you be interested in like maybe drawing some illustrations? And the next thing I know, he had created an entire comic book, basically, from my story. So I was thrilled to have that happen. And now I'm really excited to share it with you. So what I want to do is read it to you as if I was sitting down with some kids and reading a book. So just settle down and listen up. And I will read you this story called Mountain Dreamer. Late one night, sorry, I can't see that, at the foot of the mountains, in a quiet wood, a mother was reading. Mom, 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 it's okay, I'm here. Did you have a bad dream? Mom, the mountain, it's gone. It was just a bad dream. It's over now. Do you want to tell me about it? Oh, huge monsters were tearing it apart, eating the trees, the rocks, the animals and birds, the dirt, ripping it up and taking it away. Mama, it was awful. Every creature was fleeing and bleeding. There was nothing left but a giant hole filled with mud. I was lost and alone, and everything was destroyed. That is the worst dream I have ever heard of. Come with me, come. It's the middle of the night. I'm going to help you wake up to forget that awful dream. I'll show you what is real. Come on. Outside, the world is resting and damp. I can feel it on my skin. The dark is leaving, the sky is letting go of its stars. A whippoorwill. Breathe in the hair of the deer, the nests and the burrows. Feel the rustle of waking, the sighs of the sleepers. The world is held in a hazy blanket. Sure, I am right beside you. Feel the moving water. Feel the fish traveling, the stones settling in sand. Feel the pull and flow of spring and gravity tugging the last of winter's ice from the caves, trickling it all drip by drip to the river below. See the moon sinking, silver and slow. See the sky grow pink across the blue-gray range between us and the ocean. You are here, where you belong. You are part of everything around you. What if my dream comes true one day? What if the monsters take the mountain away? There are no monsters wild enough or ferocious enough to take this mountain or any part of this world away from us. Remember, we are descended from wolves and also from the rooted pines, the flowing brook, the settled stones. This is our home, and we will always be here. Alert as the whippoorwill just before dawn, burrowed in like the badgers protecting their young. Your grandmothers held this place as we do now, and as we will do all of our days. Our mountain is safe with us, and we are safe with her. We keep each other safe, connected with everything. Thank you so much. My gratitude to James Sandham for his brilliant illustrations. And thanks to the organizers tonight.
Thanks to both of you so much. We just never imagined that like a graphic novel or a comic book would come out of this call out, and it's just amazing to see when an idea is sort of put out in the world, the amazing places that people take it. So thank you. Next, I'm going to be bringing up Laura Gallo, a artist, composer, singer, poet who also facilitates incredible poetry projects from Patagonia, Argentina. She's going to be performing a song live for us tonight and also showing a video showing some of her other projects. Welcome, Laura.
Hola, buenas noches. Muchas gracias a todos y a todas por estar uniendo nuestra imaginación y nuestro poder creador para Madre Tierra. Les voy a compartir ahora una canción que se llama Me enamoré de una manzana, que es parte de esta vibración que traigo desde acá, desde Patagonia, de este territorio, llamando al poder del amor para disolver este patrón de la Matrix, de abuso, de engaño, de manipulación, que es el germen del extractivismo, disolverlo desde adentro nuestro. Vamos con esta primera canción. Me enamoré de una manzana que todavía no había sido envenenada por los señores de las torres negras, por los oscuros que fracturan las almas. La vi tan bonita, hasta me cantaba, con su pura forma salvaje, clara como el agua de la que ella bebe, y así me enamora, tan dulce, tan roja, tan revolucionaria. Ay, manzanita, te duele ver a tus hermanas empetroladas, cambiadas, siendo fumigadas. Vos te soltaste, rodaste poquito por la verdad, antes que vinieran por todo y el río arrasara. Yo sé que es urgente hacer algo nuevo, mientras disolvemos la sombra, démonos en serio, que ahí está el poder, la fuerza y un deseo entero, y que todo
Bueno, gracias por recibir este canto, que lo canto desde territorio mapuche, la energía guardiana de estas tierras, de estas aguas, donde hay muchos proyectos mineros y extractivos y muchos en amenaza de concretarse en este territorio. Ahora voy a pedir si alguien puede activar el video que les compartí, que es el adelanto de un cortometraje que nació en parte con este llamado a imaginar un mundo sin extractivismo, donde las voces de los niños y las niñas y su inocencia son protagonistas. Así que sí, lo pueden activar.
Navega tu corazón, navega tu corazón, navega tu corazón.
Bueno, y para despedirme, voy a compartirles parte de esta canción, estos cantos que son parte de un nuevo disco, con esta vibración de las voces de los niños y de las niñas, que son el canal para regresar y abrazar a la madre verdadera, no la madre tóxica que envenena los alimentos, que envenena la tierra, que envenena los cuerpos con vacunas y con falsas ideas. Le invito a cada quien en su casa a cantar como un mantra para activar en nosotros y en nosotras esa energía de nuestro propio niño y niña interior, abrazados y abrazadas a la madre.
El tiempo es agua, el tiempo es agua, corre la vida, es tiempo del corazón. Corre el agua, es tiempo del corazón. Cada cual elige su surco, cada cual su voz. Ya no hay tiempo del reloj. El tiempo es agua, navega tu corazón. Navega tu corazón.
El tiempo es agua, es tiempo del corazón.
Navega tu corazón.
Muchas gracias. Un abrazo para todos y para todas.
Muchísimas gracias a usted, Laura. Gracias por sus canciones tan poderosas y por todo su trabajo. Thank you for your such powerful music that you shared with us tonight and all of your work. I'm so touched, and we're thrilled that as part of our online gallery, we get to share this a different video from Laura, a song called Jaguara, a jaguar. So I hope you all will check that out as well. Her work is incredible. There'll be a little bit more after, but for now, I'm bringing up our final person to share their work tonight. There will be more after that, so don't leave right away. But right now, I'm so excited to bring up Maggie Flynn, who organized with Missing for many years and is just one of the most badass artists I know in terms of never being scared to call out the arts industry and to bring people into doing better work. So thanks for joining us, Maggie.
Hello, thank you for having me. Yeah, and thank you everybody for Missing for organizing this. This has been like a really nurturing space. yeah, I originally didn't like submit something for this call because I'm mainly working on one big project right now that I felt like it wasn't super optimistic and maybe not even very imaginative because it's really just me. I've been recording, kind of like tracing sponsorship money from oil and gas or mining companies towards major art museums in Canada, public art galleries, and a few other types of cultural institutions. And so the work is called In the Water. And I've presented it once as like an audio piece, and I'm working on a website that will sort of visually map all of these connections. So far, my research has led me to looking at 15 major public art galleries or museums in Canada that have connections to 42 oil, gas, or mining companies via either sponsorship or via board members who are also like high up executives in mining or oil and gas companies. And then also like just major private donors who are executives, but like the type of private donor who are like have buildings named after them, really high up. So that's what I've been looking at. Of those 15 arts and cultural institutions, the 2019 numbers for attendance was 4.9 million. And I haven't calculated the full dollar amount of money that has flowed in from extractives into the Canadian art industry, but like a very easy number that I can say is that it's in the tens of millions based on just like a few of the big sponsorships that I've looked at. Okay, gonna get optimistic right now. Okay, so basically, while doing this work, I really had to ask myself some hard questions, but also like kind of just look for hopeful alternatives to this style of funding the arts in Canada. And I think that there are lots of different like examples that we can look around and see of just, there were plenty of museums that I looked into that didn't take any, that I couldn't find a speck of oil and gas or mining money in their budgets or annual reports. One that comes to mind off the top of my head, and I have no idea what's going on behind the scenes there, but was just like the Vancouver Art Gallery. And Vancouver is a big hotspot for mining companies. So, you know, they're able to do this work and not take that money. When I think about like what needs to shift in the industry to make space to find other resources, right? Because I'm not proposing like, I've also, it's important to say that like I'm a working artist and I've also been on the arts administrative side of cultural organizations, nonprofits, and I understand how hard it is to do that fundraising work. But I also think it's a choice as to like how we do the fundraising work in nonprofits. And especially major institutions that already have like a stable grounding, there's choices that can be made in terms of like how they direct their fundraising staff, what kind of support we're cultivating in those institutions. So, oh, right, the like one just like very simple approach is like policy, for example. You know, there are institutions that have policies about what kind of money they will or will not accept. And I think that like a very simple and fundamental policy that we could easily ask our cultural institutions to have, you know, and this is like on a case-by-case basis, this conversation needs to happen in like every individual institution, but is maybe don't take money from companies that are in active conflict with Indigenous communities. I think that that's such like a fundamental expectation of our public art galleries, especially when a lot of them are talking about doing the work of reconciliation. And there are just also tons of examples of not just in looking at Canadian art institutions, but also looking towards media. There are like lots of examples of big, really impactful work that is being funded through really small donations from large audiences. And the quality of the work is able to be maintained. You know, people are like, the artists or producers are getting paid, and also like maintaining accessibility, financial accessibility, right? So not making the arts elite in Canada. These are all challenges, but I think that what I feel, whether I'm thinking about arts administrators or just humans in general, is that as we imagine a world that is beyond extractives, which is hard to do when, you know, a lot of our possessions we look at and we think, okay, I'm complicit, and there's like fear that comes up when we propose thinking beyond extractivism. I really trust that humans meet constraints with like really incredibly creative solutions, and that you know, they're like transitioning away from the extractive frameworks that we currently have. I think a lot of people might see like fear or struggle, but I think we can also see so much creative production that can come out of choosing to make that shift, and that we'll find like really a lot of beautiful things in doing that work. So I think that's it. Last logistical thing. In the follow-up email that Missin is going to send, I will ask Missin to include a just like a quick Google form to get your email if you want to receive the website version of this work, which is called In the Water, later this year, or you can message me on Zoom right now. You can do a private message if you send it to just my name, Maggie Flynn, and I'll make sure I get your email and I send you that. And that's it. Thank you so much, everybody, for like listening and also sharing.
Thank you so much, Maggie, and thank you for highlighting also that, like, we know it's really brave of artists to be doing the kind of work that we've seen tonight and that we've seen throughout this project. I mean, it's already so hard to be able to sustainably like live under late stage capitalism as an artist, and knowing that it's tens of millions of dollars that come from extractive industries. If you're making anti-extractive art, that's really brave and it's really important and it's super appreciated. On a related note, I really want to thank the organizations that did sponsor this event so that we could give a small honorarium to some of our artists who have taken the time to be here tonight and to help us continue this project. So that's Mining Watch Canada, Rights Action, OPERC Toronto, and the Trans Feminist Action Caucus of CUPE 3903. Thank you so much for sponsoring this evening so that we could do this. So this was just the first launch. This is not the end of this project. This is the start. So I want to tell you a little bit about what's coming up next and invite you to be part of it. So first of all, this has not publicly launched yet, but we wanted to give you guys the first peek at our online gallery where all of the art that was received will be showcased. Some of it's already up there, and we're going to be adding 10 more per day for the next few days. So I'm going to just give you guys a little sneak peek as to what that looks like. So here's I Believe That We Will Win, the collection of the imaginings that we received of a world without extractivism. You'll recognize some of the art that's up here that was presented tonight. And of course, you can click on each one and get much more information about it. I want to give a special shout out to Faustine, who I think is here as well tonight, who made this incredible collage that we adored so much that you probably all saw it because it was used in the promotion for this event. It's called Et soudain j'ai recommencé à rêver. Suddenly I started dreaming again. You can look at it in much more detail here and see all of the threads. There's more information about the artist and the work here as well that I'll invite you to check out on your own time later. The website for now, just for you guys, is mininginjustice.org/imaginings, and we'll be launching it publicly in a few days, but we wanted you all to be part of helping us launch it tonight. We also are really excited to announce tonight that we're going to be launching a calendar for the 2022 year that will have so many of the poems and the visual art that we received, a few from tonight and many that we weren't able to show you tonight. In the email that we send in follow-up to this event, we'll give you guys the registration, what's it called? Like the order link, so you guys can be the first to order the calendar. And the proceeds from it will go to the artists, and also some of it to Missin's Impacted Community Fund, which is our fund that 100% of it goes to communities who are in a real crisis or emergency, who are facing any type of extractive project, or maybe have a member who's just been attacked. There's all sorts of reasons for crises, and that fund goes to support them. So we hope you guys will help us promote the calendar and get more of this art out in the world. Many of you may also have seen posters with some of this art around downtown Toronto. We pasted on various poles. We're going to keep doing that too, to literally bring this post-extractivist art to Bay Street, to the places where the mining industry thinks they're in charge. All right, next. We wanted to create a little space for all of us, now that we're all kind of like filled to the brimming with this inspiration, with this feeling of we can win together. We wanted to create a space for us to chat with each other. Of course, this is optional, but we're going to break up into small little breakout groups, very small, and we would just invite you all to chat with each other just about what stood out from today, and maybe what inspiration or ideas might we be carrying forward into the world that we believe that we will win, into this world without extractivism. So thanks again so much to all of our artists. We won't come back together at the end to share, because these are really going to be intimate, private conversations as small groups. So I'll say my big thank yous now, and especially again to Kirsten, who did just such a phenomenal job of interpreting tonight's event, and to Merle, Sydney, Emily, Sam, and the other folks in Missin who pulled this whole event together. And to all of you for being part of this movement with us. We don't believe that we will win because of blocking out the world, but because of coming together and imagining it together. So thank you so much to all of you. And now we're going to break off into little rooms for conversations together and to imagine collectively. This won't be interpreted because breakout rooms don't have interpretation, so these will just be in the languages that we speak.